All right, travelers, welcome back to another episode of the Relish the Journey podcast. I'm your host, Miles Biggs, and I'm joined by Lev Kelmen for this episode. We're going to talk all about his cannabis company, specifically cannabis chocolates. He's full of knowledge about how he's made this happen, a whole process he's made himself, and you could tell this guy is very passionate about hemp, about cannabis, and about all the healing properties of this crop. So hopefully you guys learned something. I know I did. Let's get started. Lev, thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So tonight or today or this morning, whenever you folks out there are listening to this, we're talking all about Royal Hemp. And you've got a new line of chocolate edibles, if I'm correct, right, that you're releasing out in Oregon?
Yes, I think we'll be on the shelves within a week or two in Oregon only. The brand will call Edge Off. It takes the edge off. It'll be vegan, gluten, soy-free, and keto-friendly cannabis chocolates, cannabis-infused chocolates, yes.
So how did you get started in the cannabis industry? What made this business come to life?
Well, I started in the hemp industry first. I created our first hemp chocolate company called Brooklyn Dark. We were open in 2011. And when I opened the company, people didn't know anything about hemp and marijuana or anything like that. So they're like, Lev, why would you sell chocolates with hemp? You make ropes out of hemp. But hemp seeds actually contains omega-3, 6, and 9 in perfect balance for human digestion. Hemp is one of the best proteins for humans. Vegans and vegetarians, we don't get omegas from fruits and vegetables. We have to have nuts and seeds. So Brooklyn Dark was perfect source for omega-3s for vegans and vegetarians. At some point, we were growing company and we were at 30 stores. At some point, I figured out that I couldn't scale the company the way it is. I had issues. The chocolate was organic, vegan, gluten, and soy-free, and it also was Rainforest Alliance certified, which meant that it was grown and harvested sustainably, and living wage was paid to the farmers. So amount of the chocolate produced in the world is very small. And when I start growing, big companies like Hershey's or whatever would come in and buy supplies for 2 or 3 years, and therefore putting me out of business, and they did it a few times. So I was like, okay, I still believe hemp and marijuana is the next thing. We cannot be green society without hemp. Out of hemp, we can make paper, plastic, rope, oil, batteries. Anything you wanted to do out of wood or petroleum plastic, we can do out of hemp.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know about batteries for hemp. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. There's actually, they say that it's just recent, actually. There was a couple months ago, they started creating hemp batteries, and they were like much more efficient than lithium batteries. But it's still in progress. They're still doing research. They're still not coming out with marketable solutions for the market, but they already have research showing that it's much better and it's easier to charge and last longer, and it's not toxic on an environment to produce them.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. I started in hemp, and then at some point it's like, I just got tired, like when big guys come in and just busted me, and I was like, they will not go, Hershey's will not go into marijuana, and at least in first 5-10 years, So I figure out, I'm very healthy and clean. I eat clean. I'm vegan. I'm trying to be staying healthy and take care of my body. So I'm not going to eat, butane-produced edibles or CO2-produced edibles. It's just, I'm not going to do it. And so I started experimenting with other stuff, and I started playing with the chocolate. And chocolate and ethanol oil or any other oils is very hard to combine properly. So the chocolate tastes good, and also, you still feel good effects of cannabis. So I created extraction method that doesn't use any solvents like butane or CO2 or ethanol, because I feel that, the amount of butane, for example, if I'm going to take the edibles every day in small portions, that sooner or later, the butane is going to, or CO2 or ethanol, will going to accumulate in my body and will start poisoning me. And I don't know if you know, but there is, from Colorado, from the states where the pot is legal, they see that there's a lot of users, like users who use cannabis on regular basis, show up in emergency rooms and throwing up, and doctors don't know where that comes from. And I'm putting it out there that it comes from either butane or CO2 extraction that actually accumulates in your body and poisons you. Not right away, but with the time, it actually makes toxins or keeps toxin in your body, and your body rejects it, and then you start throwing up and stuff like that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, in theory, it makes sense, right? It's just the additives over and over again that it'll get you. And you think you're being healthy by not smoking it, right? You're not damaging your lungs.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about those additives.
Exactly. So when I was thinking about that, I have 2 degrees. I have degree in finance and I have degree in culinary art. I went to French Culinary Academy when it was called then, and they had Italian program. So I spent some time in Italy. I lived in Italy. I worked in Italy. When I come back, I would start, playing with the chocolate and cannabis, and that's how I created that extraction method. And now I'm using it for myself. And we're launching in Oregon.
So why just Oregon? Does it have to deal with regulations around the crop?
Yeah, unfortunately, the biggest problem in cannabis industry right now is the government. Not only the government, is the government, uneducated government, because people in the states where it's legal see the benefits of it, not only from financial windfall from the taxes, but it's also reduced crime rate, reduced opioid addiction, and many other benefits that actually they can see it in well-being of public health. Like, for example, there's 25, like in Colorado, I think there's 25% reduction in opioid addiction. So people, instead of using opioids, they go for marijuana, and marijuana is not addictive as opioids are. There's no physical dependency on marijuana.
Yeah, it's interesting. So seems like that's the biggest difference then with your chocolate versus others is your extraction method?
Yes, I think so. Yes. I think my extraction method, what it does is that, and we tested it, there's a lot of CBG. CBG is also new cannabinoid that actually have a lot of healing power but doesn't make you high. So it creates a lot of CBG. There's a lot of terpenes. Terpenes create entourage effect. And another thing is that the way I create my batches in Oregon, it's going to be a small batch. So every high for this batch will be the same, but another batch, the high will be different. So right now, I produce about 5,000 pieces of chocolates called a job. There will be 25 milligrams each. There's actually 10 pieces. There's 2 in the package, and that's it. There's only 5,000 pieces. The same thing is never going to repeat again unless I'll take the same strain, which may or may not be the same at this time. So the high is always different. So the people, for example, who take my chocolate on daily basis, and they create some kind of there's a plateau on your tolerance. With the new batch coming in, and there's no plateau. It's still the same high. So people don't need to go up. Like, for example, if they start with 20 milligrams or 25 milligrams or 12 milligrams, they can stay on 12 milligrams every day and not worry about, I need to take more because the cannabis effect is less in your mind, or the high is less than you usually then you get used to, if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. That's really interesting. Thought through a lot of the what ifs there. So what's been, besides the government and being uneducated and in government, right? What's been the biggest hurdle in starting a cannabis chocolate company? I feel like that's such a niche market. Is you running into trouble with it being so small?
Well, again, it's the marijuana is the new thing. If you think that the way to take cannabis by eating it, it's really a new concept. I mean, there was a concept in Morocco, like on Morocco and Turkey, in 1900, they call it majun. But it's here in United States and actually all over the world, eating cannabis is really a new thing. Not only is that new thing is, it's not been very researched for a long time. So it's new. 80% of Americans never tried edibles or will try at some point, in the future. But the biggest hurdle is still government, and testing and coming from the fear of public health, like, oh, we're going to legalize cannabis and we're going to hurt our people because they're going to get addicted and whatever comes with addiction. And it's not true. It doesn't work. Cannabis is not addictive physically. I mean, it's addictive to would you like to be happy all the time? And that's what it does.
Sure.
Would you like, if you have anxiety, would you like to take something that, calms you down and relaxes you, and then anxiety goes away? I mean, but people don't see there's still not enough. There's plenty of research. If you go on normal, there's like thousands and thousands of papers proving what I'm saying. Doctors themselves are not accepting it as the way to cure people or help people with many ailments. And unfortunately, if you look at the history, before 1937, every doctor had cannabis extract in their purse when they were visiting people. They were giving it to children for the stomach pain. They were giving it to women for the period pain. There's well-known fact that Queen Victoria, whenever she had periods, she was smoking weed. You know what I mean? So when the medical community will accept cannabis as a viable treatment for anxiety, for pain, for fibromyalgia, there's over 100 ailments that cannabis can help with. Then I think it will be probably acceptable everywhere else, and then there will be less or no hurdles at all.
Yeah. So what do you think it's going to take to initiate that? Right? Like, what's going to be the catalyst that makes it more widely accepted?
Well, that's my company, I hope. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm coming out with 225 milligram chocolates. And why am I doing 225? Because a regular person who doesn't smoke weed on regular basis does not need more than 7.5 milligram to get high. So when you have 25 milligram chocolate, you can divide them in 4 or 5 pieces. That's actually perfect dose for microdosing. What it does is relaxes you. It gives you a little high, so you're a little happy, but you're still operational. Your mind is working. It's everything functioning well. You're actually feeling much better because your senses are a little bit sharper. The food tastes better. The touch feels better. The sex feels better. The music sounds better. It's like everything is kind of like improves with that. And when people can microdose and they can try it safely and experience that, I think that will start like clicking them, and the doctors will try that, and the doctors will understand that it's actually much less harmful way of giving people anti-depression or anti-anxiety treatment, and it doesn't have really that much negative effect.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm curious with microdosing, if somebody's taking medicine for anxiety, they're taking one pill a day, is it now going to be one chocolate a day, or they have to do a microdose every couple hours? Or it's probably different for every person, right? But What's an average?
Yeah. So what's good? Yeah, what's good about the chocolate is that the high lasts longer. Like if you smoke cannabis, the high lasts about hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's a spike. It's a spike. Like if you look at the parabola of the high, it's a spike, and then it slowly comes down. It's like spike and then comes down. When you're eating high, it's like a little mountain. It's like slowly. It takes about hour and a half, 2 hours to start feeling it. Especially like if you just ate a heavy meal, so it takes about hour and a half, 2 hours till you start feeling anything. And then if you're hungry, it'll start working 30, 40 minutes. But it lasts much longer. It lasts like 6 to 8 hours, but it's not like uncomfortable. Like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. No, it's very comfortable. It's like you're happy, you're high, you're enjoying yourself. If if you're comfortable, obviously. If someone takes bigger dose and they're not comfortable, I don't want that, because that people have negative effects of it. And unfortunately, the industry right now, the way it's set it up is that they'll give them quick, like 50 milligrams, and 50 milligrams, it's so much. It's beyond me. Okay. And they'll give them little cookies that's 50 milligrams, and people don't know. They'll take a half a cookie or quarter cookie, whatever, and they don't feel anything for hour and a half, 2 hours. They're like, oh, it's shit and whatever. And then they start taking more stuff, and then they high out of their mind and they don't know what's going on. And, it just, right. Again, this is education. That's education. And if I be able to help people to learn more about cannabis and opportunities in cannabis and healing opportunities in cannabis and how they can improve their lives and make their lives better with the cannabis, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what, I'd love that, I'd love to be part of it. And on our website, actually, we publish a lot of interesting articles that we think is very appropriate. Where they have medicinal use, where they use cannabis as an anxiety, and someone else publishes that, and I like that. So, and we publish it the same. We just refer them so people can go and read that stuff on our website.
That's great. Yeah, and that website is royalhemp.com, and I'll be sure to link that up in the show notes so people can find you. Please. Unfortunately, people are going to want to buy it now, Lev, and they're going to have to go to Oregon. But that's what you want, right?
Well, yes, we're in Oregon, and we're also opening in Massachusetts at some point. We just got preliminary license in Massachusetts in Lanesboro, and we'll have a factory and dispensary there. The way we set it up in Oregon is that we have a factory, and the factory has a distribution right to our product. So they will be distributing in top dispensaries in Oregon. It's not going to be available everywhere, unfortunately.
Got it. Well,
there's only 5,000 pieces right now made. That's official. I mean, sure. The packages.
Well, that's smart though, right? It's going to help create demand since there's only so much of it, and it's different each time, like you said. It's a little bit like craft beer, right? Small batch brewing that people are used to. You're doing the same thing with the chocolate.
It is. It's like champagne, and we're going to have vintages. I mean, I keep some of the oil, so if people say, oh, we know what, we love this we love that, can we repeat this? And I'll keep some of it as a vintage, and we'll do like re-release of 2020, but very small amount of pieces, like 500 pieces or something like this,
That's smart. So one last question for you. I ask every guest a version of this question. And it's normally to describe your life so far in 3 words, but we've been talking mainly about your business and about cannabis. So for you, I'm curious, how would you describe your journey and everything you've learned going from hemp to cannabis and starting this company? How would you describe that whole journey and process for you in 3 words?
In 3 words?
Yeah, 3 words.
Challenging, exciting, and hard, challenging, and exciting.
There you go. Yeah. I love it. I bet it was hard too. I mean, you're making your own extraction method and fighting governments, and it's all a challenge, but it's got to be exciting to see it come to life for sure.
It's also creative. Yeah, the fourth word would be creative. Yeah, I mean, all my creative juices are running. We have to create everything from scratch. From zero, and we also have to create demand from zero, and we have to compete with big companies from Canada, who really don't care about people. They just care about money.
Sure, sure. Well, hey, I appreciate you sharing the story of Royal Hemp and Edge Off, which you're launching here shortly, and for educating me personally and I know the listeners about all things hemp and cannabis. I learned a lot that I did not know before this conversation, so I appreciate your time and your knowledge.
Oh, I listen. Anytime, if you want to talk about hemp and marijuana, I'm here. I think I can go on PhD for that and pass it. So yeah, I love hemp and marijuana. Hemp is the future crop. 1 acre of hemp produces as much as 4 acres of tree. In order to grow hemp, we don't need to use pesticides, so we don't have to pollute ourselves. Trees are very efficient of taking CO2 out of the atmosphere and creating oxygen. Hemp is also efficient of that, but we can leave the trees alone and we can do paper, plastic, everything out of hemp.
Got it. Well, hopefully.
And if I can talk to the doctors directly, hemp is much more safer than any Ambien or any other drug that they prescribing to people. And I want people to start trying cannabis instead of this pharmacopoeia of drugs that actually harming people and mask the symptoms versus the healing them and help them to feel a better and productive life, to live a better and productive life.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here. Going over to royalhemp.com and reach out to Lev. Like he said, he loves to talk about it. He'll talk about it with you, and hopefully you all learn something.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, guys, and thank you for listening. And if you want pre-order, I think you can. For Oregon people, for dispensaries, we are on the Leaf Link. You can pre-order it. There is probably going to be limited supply available in the beginning, but please contact your dispensary or go to your dispensary in Oregon and ask them to order it from Leaf Link. I appreciated your time and thank you very much.
All right, that's a wrap for this episode of Relish the Journey, where I know I learned a lot about cannabis and everything Lev had to say. It was very interesting. So hopefully you guys did too. If you like this episode, please share it with somebody that you think would also like this episode. And I'm loving seeing the reviews of the podcast come in. It makes me smile every time I get a notification. Somebody saying nice things about me. Never hurts, right? So if you're at all motivated to do that, I'd be so grateful if you could review the show. Helps us reach more people by moving up the podcast charts and getting suggested to more listeners. So appreciate you for doing that. And until next time, everyone, cheers.